The thing that gave us the hint, my ex-husband called and he said, I think Dolton Police killed Alexis. I said, what?
All right. Thanks for joining us on the Crucial Convo podcast. I have Miss Cara Wilson here with me tonight, um, the mother of Alexis Wilson. Thank you for joining me tonight. How are you this evening?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for taking the time. Um, I wanted to reach out to you and talk to you because, Alexis's story has obviously been, um, something that is kind of at the center of a lot of things going on in Dalton. Um, I know that Vivian Allen's my friend, so I grew up in
Oh,
Dalton, so
okay.
I wanted to talk about it because I talked to Vivian a while back, and she had sent me at the time when we first started interviewing together, she had sent me a petition, you know,
Hmm.
and I wasn't initially I'd heard of the story regarding,
Hmm.
but I wasn't really familiar with it, so all this stuff goes on. There's so much stuff going on in Dalton, and a lot of times people kind of know about it, but I felt like
Hmm.
your daughter was very tragic, and I think more people need to know if they don't know. And I just wanted to take some time to talk to you. So thanks for joining me.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and that's what I'm doing. Just telling about what happened, getting others familiar with Alexa's story. Um, that night did not have to unfold that way, and the administration didn't have to respond the way they did. So many things went very wrong with that day.
And I want to say, I my condolences to you. I can't imagine what the last 3 years have been like. Um,
Difficult, very difficult.
I'm sure. So before we even get into the events, I mean, who was Alexis? I mean, can you tell us a little bit about who Alexis was? And the young girl, 19
Um,
years old. Who was she?
yes, Lexi was just funny. She was outgoing, um, was not afraid to speak her mind. Um, she loved all musicals, cheerleading. I remember I would catch her like dancing in the living room to Grease, like she just, she just was an awesome kid. She was an awesome kid. My best friend every day, it's mom. What are we gonna do with the baby? That's what she always called her little brother, but
Hmm.
she always had him on her mind. Everything was about what are we going to do for him? Where are we going to take him? Where can we go where he's going to have fun? So she was very caring. At one point when he was a baby, she'd even sleep next to his crib until he was big enough for her to pick up, by herself. Um, and at that point, she would take him into her room and just sit him on the bed and watch Mickey Mouse with him.
Oh,
Um,
a great big
Lexi,
sister.
she loved to style her own clothes. I don't know if you're old enough to remember. There was a show called Punky Brewster where the
Oh
girl
yeah,
would wear all this mixed matched. So so my baby, she did that. She cut your shorts off or her dad's, her brother's shorts or my shirt and take these pieces, cut them up and make it into her own outfit. And I'd have to send a note to school with her like, "Hey, I let her dress herself today. Yes, some battles aren't worth fighting."
I hear that.
you know. But yeah, she was the baby to the older ones. When they left home, we hadn't had the little one yet, so because we have an older set of children too,
Okay.
so by the time prior to her being killed, at that point, it was just her and her little brother left at home.
Okay. Now, how far apart are her and her little brother?
Oh, 11 years.
Oh, okay. So she was a
She was like his
serious kid.
mom. Oh yeah, she loved that kid.
Oh man. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I
I
mean,
remember one night she was mad and wanted to go to her dad's house, and I said, "Well, you better call your dad and see if you can Uber there," you know. And next thing I look up, she's got her brother in the other hand. She's like, "I'm going and I'm taking him too."
did she call up the Uber?
Yes, she sure did. Went straight to
Okay.
her dad's house, which is fine. He's a great dad, so that wasn't a problem.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I mean, it's good to understand who she is, and was, and all of that, because I have a daughter too. My daughter's just turned 8, but
Mm.
they always are babies.
Yes, yes. No matter how old they get,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Well, take me to, if you don't mind. What was the when was the last time you talked to her prior to that night?
Uh, about 3 hours prior.
Okay,
Um, I talked to her last about 9 p.m.
okay.
And we had a conversation then about her staying out all night, even though she's 19 at the time. I don't do that staying out all night thing. So you need to come home and you need to bring my car. Wherever your friends are, get rid of them, you know.
Right.
But you be home by 12:30. Um, so that was the last conversation. And at that time, it was just like, all right, mom, you want me to come home? I said, yes, Alexis, come on. Okay, mom, I love you. All right, Lex, I love you too. Now bring your butt home.
Yeah,
And so that was our last conversation.
last time.
Hmm.
So, talking about the night, so I wanted to ask you. So, what's your understanding of everything that happened, as far as I know she went to Baba's um close to 1 o'clock, that night
Hmm.
or that morning, essentially. And what was your understanding of what happened? Because the news always says one thing, but what was your understanding of what happened?
Well, um, that night she had purchased her food via DoorDash. Why she didn't? Oh, well, I did ask the boyfriend why she didn't. Why didn't she wait for them to bring it? They offered $10 off if you pick your order up. So they proceeded to do that, and so the order had been paid for. And when she arrived, they gave her the wrong order.
Oh, okay.
She leaves. She goes around the building. The car that was right behind her does the same thing. Um, they had inverted the orders, so they do get into an argument at the window about her order, and they kind of close the window on her and tell her, well, if you don't take this, then you're not getting anything, and they close the window on her. And so that's when you see her hitting on the window with that stick.
I see. Now, and
Um,
there is a carrot, not even to cut you off, but there is a misconception, at least from the stuff I saw. There's a misconception that she went there and they were already closed and that she wanted food. So,
yeah, yeah, no, that's
yeah.
that's not true. That was the order that was placed. That's why she expected to get it. And if see, but they did not show on they didn't show anything on what was released. There is video from Baba's that shows her circle the two cars. They circled around because they both had gotten the wrong orders.
Hmm.
So they were probably closing, and those were the last two orders or the last orders they were handing out, but they were already ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, and I think by now something like that should have been cleared up, because when
Hmm.
when you look out there as far as the information, there's still this idea that she
Yes.
just went there, and I wasn't even aware that it was a DoorDash order. That
Yes.
I wasn't aware of that either, so it's good to clear
You
that up.
know, Lex is a princess. Always has been. You know, I rarely go get anything. If I don't have to go to work, I just have it delivered. And she's much the same. So I did ask when, because I knew it was a DoorDash order, and I asked the boyfriend why did you guys go pick it up? Why didn't you just let DoorDash bring it? And he said because they got $10 off to pick it up. And so that's what she went. She went for that $10 off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. So so basically she knocks on the window because they had given her the wrong order. She's trying to knock on there to get the correct order, and they're kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, they're dismissive. And then the one guy comes up and he does like that. And so they relax in the vehicle. They sit back, they start looking in their phones. Police pull up, guns drawn, yelling at them to get out, get out, get out. Um,
And Kara,
and
presumably at that point, when the guy comes to the window and it goes like that, he must have been calling the police, or someone was calling the police
exactly,
at that time.
exactly. And they did call and say that she was threatening the employees with a gun.
And it's interesting because I listened to the 911 call, and they say that there's a woman knocking on the window with the gun, but it's clear that there was no gun knocked at the window. It
Yeah,
was
and
just
they
like,
can see because they had video camera back there. I actually went in to see the video the following day. Um, and when they went to the back and called the police, they're actually back there laughing. And they're back there laughing until they hear gunfire.
so they essentially called the police knowing good and well that they were not the employees of Baba's. Call the police knowing that they were not in any danger. They
Because
essentially
that's
looks
what the
like.
manager wanted to show me is that they feared for their lives, and he played the video for us, and then he's sitting down watching the video with us, like, I didn't see that part, I didn't see that part, you know. When the cop punches her, I didn't see that part, you know, like, yeah,
Hmm. So they're calling the police knowing they're not in danger.
yes,
So your daughter Alexi is in the car. Her boyfriend's in the car. The guy is, he gives them the like, wait a minute, as if he's going to
mm-hmm,
correct the order. So they're sitting back, not knowing that police are coming. They have no idea.
exactly, exactly,
Okay. So
and the entire time her hands are up. The entire time, the only time she ever rests her hands is on the steering wheel, but they're up the whole time, you know. Um, and she's arguing back and forth, telling them that she's not dressed. But there was a female cop on the scene that could have assisted her. Um, Literally, it goes from him barking orders for her to get out the car to punching her in her face with his mag light in his hand. So he punches her one time and she goes, "What are you doing?" And he does it again. And so this time she comes back up, she grabs the steering wheel and she pulls off. At the time that she pulls off, you'll see in the video, if I don't know if I sent you the video, but
oh yeah, I got
there's a video where you see everybody jumps back away from the vehicle.
it. Hmm.
But by that time, an officer had already got into the vehicle, and I don't care what this man says, he was sitting right up and down next to her. You can see him. You can see his
Okay.
head and his shoulders sitting next to her in the vehicle. Um, so she pulls off, but the guy has knocked her glasses off, so her head's literally in the windshield. Um, I guess as she realizes he's there, whether she sees him, hears him, he says nothing to her though. He does not tell her to stop the car. He says nothing to her. Um, she realizes he's there. She starts screaming. He starts shooting. He puts 2 bullets in her head and 5 down her side.
Hmm.
The only danger at that point that he was in is danger that he put himself in. One, from climbing into the vehicle, and two, for shooting the driver.
Right. Right.
What did you expect to happen next? Now, he did sustain injuries, but I believe when he crashed into that building and that roof it caved in on his side of the vehicle.
Okay.
That's how that man was injured. He was never drugged. There was no cops aimed at. She didn't even have a gun. And their claim that they found one 4 days later, how can I believe that after all the stories that they've already buried her in? Not only that, but didn't they have to clean up the crime scene? Didn't they have to clean up the vehicle? So you've just crashed into a building. Oh, listen, when I went out there, the contents of my car were all over the place. From packs of eyelashes that she had in it to different business cards and like just different various items were strewn through the street. So at that point, if it were there, wouldn't they have found it then?
Well, and that's very important that people should understand because I wasn't aware that they said they found the gun 4
They
days
did.
later.
4 days later, yes. They
Okay.
then start to claim that they found a gun.
And Kara, I know this is, very, very sensitive.
And
So
I'm sorry, it's Cara.
Cara, my
Cara.
apologies, Cara.
No
So
problem.
Cara, I don't want to skim over it, but I want people
Hmm.
to kind of understand. So I want to
Hmm.
just go back a little bit. So initially, when the police arrived, there
Hmm.
was Officer Perez on the left side where Alexis was.
Hmm.
He was kind of jammed
He's
in
the
between her
puncher.
car and
Hmm.
Baba. And then there
Where
was
there was no room to get out the vehicle.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I saw
Yeah,
too. And then on the right side, you had Jared
Carlton.
Perez. Excuse me, Ryan Perez. No, it was Jared Perez.
Yeah,
Jared, sorry,
Carlton. Jared
Jared
Carlton.
Carlton.
Hmm.
So Jared Carlton is on the right side. So
Hmm.
he's the
He's the
one who
shooter. He's the
he's
one
the
who
shooter.
climbs into the vehicle.
So a lot of the argument was about Alexis being punched, and a lot of people looked at that particular footage. And so when he they claimed that he was trying to reach in there to grab to
Her
turn off
keys.
the
Oh, in a
keys.
keyless entry vehicle, mind you.
Okay,
The boyfriend had the key fob in his pocket.
okay. Well, you know what? And I looked at the footage too because when I look at the footage, it doesn't look like he's trying to turn off the car. What it looks like,
Right. I believe there is a part where he tries to physically just snatch her out of the vehicle, but as soon as he grabs her hand or something, she pulls like, wait, and that's when he starts punching.
she has her hands there, and he
Hmm.
goes to grab her
Oh,
arm there.
I didn't even see that so clearly before either.
Yeah,
Okay.
so she puts her hands on the steering wheel, 10 and
And he
2,
tries to grab it.
and then he tries to grab her, and I don't know if she was trying to move off, but that's when it looks like he proceeds to punch her. So
Hmm.
that's the section where I think a lot of people don't know, and there's a lot of question as to whether he punched her, whether he didn't. I think it's quite obvious that he did punch
Oh
her.
yeah, he definitely did that.
Um, with her boyfriend, did was he the one who kind of was able to give you accounts of everything because he was there
Yes,
outside of the footage, obviously?
absolutely. He did, as well as like I said, the next day, we went over to Baba's, and the manager there let us see video. And as far as the video footage from the dash cams and all that stuff, we were able to see that through the Illinois State Police and meeting with our attorney. But I didn't watch the entire thing at that time.
Yeah, yeah, understandably so. I mean, I know it's hard, and um, let me ask you as far as the angles. Did they give you all of the angles of the body cam footage or all the
No, they
because
haven't given me anything personally.
still to this
And
day,
I've tried to FOIA them, and no, I still haven't gotten it.
you don't have the footage.
Mm-mm, not myself. I'm sure I know
Wow.
my attorney does.
Okay. Okay. Now, because what I'm thinking is that with the footage, there's all these angles, and there is an angle where you could clearly see him striking her.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's that one video that one guy did. I don't even know where he pulled all the video from, but he was able to break it down and show all of that. So, yeah, I definitely know that was the case.
Yeah.
And I don't, and actually, the officer does not deny it. Um, Not to mention, you know, Alexis was Ryan Perez's fourth police involved murder.
Now that's what I
So
thought as well.
he has three prior to her, two within 4 months of each other.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
So Perez has 4 incidents, including regarding fatalities
yes.
prior to your
The
daughter.
only difference in Lexi's case is that instead of him, he wasn't the shooter, but in all the other cases, he was the direct cause of death.
Hmm. And what do we know about Jared Carlton, the actual shooter?
I have not been able to find as much information on him, and I do have some people digging. But from my understanding, right now, he's still employed with Dolton. He's still on medical leave from that night. Um, that's it. Last I heard, Perez was in Munster, Indiana, and we did go visit them. And let's just say they're indifferent to our plight. So he's in a place, he's now in a community that probably will protect him.
Okay.
He left Dalton before the feds moved in.
Right.
He left when it got hot. They'd given him a raise and a promotion, though.
Okay.
She'd given him a raise and a promotion after the incident.
So after this happened, so they say they found the gun 4 days later, and just so people understand, when the police arrived there, the idea, or at least the reason why they were supposed to be acting so aggressively, because she had a gun.
Hmm.
But we clearly see on the footage she didn't have a gun to
And
tackle
they
the woman.
never would have holstered their weapons had they still felt there was a threat.
Right. And a lot of that again goes back to the employees of Baba saying that somebody's threatening with the gun or knocking on
Hmm.
the window with the gun. Okay. So at that point, after that point, so after everything happened, um, how was it dealing with the village as far as getting information or any further investigation? I mean,
Complete fiasco. From day one, with them showing up at my door telling me that they had no clue what happened to her. There was a crash and a shooting, and we're not sure what happened. We're investigating. Can you sign your car over into evidence? You know, never implicating themselves or their department in any wrongdoing or any that they were involved at all, whether they considered it wrong or right, because clearly they really believe they were right. They I don't know. They complete indifference. You know, um, I don't think the night would have went the same had she been another race. Whether
yeah,
Hispanic or white or any other race. I think the night would have went a little different. They always seem to have just a little bit more patience for our counterparts, which is fine. And I'm not asking them uh, for the police to treat others the way they treat us, but how about treating us like you treat others?
sure.
You know, so this officer that's killed all these black people in this black community now moves to a white community where they probably are, like yay, because it's a red state. It's kind of that way over there,
Hmm.
and I grew up there, still have love for that community, but I know what I'm up against with it as well.
Absolutely.
um, but police have the most lethal job in America. They don't get drug tested after they shoot, after they're involved in a fatality. They don't have to stand up to any type of repercussions. Like if his pension was in jeopardy, if you get sued by, if somebody wins the wrongful death lawsuit, your pension should be attached. Maybe then you'd shoot less people. But anywho, I'm sorry.
No, no, no. Please. I mean, it's
Um,
you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that's an important part of police liability
and
because
I spoke to the former mayor, and I told him, had you done something about the first three times this man killed someone, there wouldn't have been a fourth. I don't believe. I honestly don't. I do. I put it on not Carlton so much, even though he's the shooter, but Perez, because of his time on the force. Not only his time on the force, but because of how many others he's executed.
yeah,
So at this point, he's like, it's like he's coming out ready to do that on charge. Um, he escalated a situation that didn't have to be escalated further. There was a female cop, I believe her name was Hobson, on the scene that should have assisted my daughter or could have assisted my daughter. But when she's saying she's not dressed and she's a young woman, you have no business reaching in her vehicle.
yeah. Absolutely.
especially with someone already on the scene. You've already ascertained that she's not armed.
Yeah.
You know, she's trying to explain to them that she got robbed. They just took her money and didn't give her food. But anywho,
There's so much of that. There's so much of that story, Cara, that is just not out there correctly as far as the context. So
it never has been because, of course, inmate Henyard on day one took to spinning the story. She and Sean Howard, the literally the cops had just left my door. There's a story playing on the news. I'm still calling family. I'm not paying attention to the story about the police shooting because they said crazy crackhead naked banging on a window because the store is closed, and none of that sounded like it could possibly be my child. I'm hearing it play, but again, I'm still calling family. I am not even paying attention to it at all. That was so out of what I know, so out of character for her. The thing that gave us the hint, my ex husband called and he said, um, "I think Dolton Police killed Alexis." I said, "What?" It's Dolton Police. I believe Dolton Police killed Alexis. He said, "You got to look at the TV. I think that's your car that they're pulling out of that bike shop." And so I go and I look, and yeah, but they're not answering the phones. We've been trying to call. They found out it was us when we did call, and they stopped answering our phone calls. Dolton would not take our phone calls. The police department would not take our phone calls. That's the only reason we had to get up and go up there physically. They wouldn't answer our calls.
mm,
The mayor, now she's standing on TV saying, "My officers, I stand by my officers. They did do the right thing and they took a criminal off the streets of Dalton tonight. They've probably prevented other crimes that could have or would have happened within our village."
mm.
This is a 19-year-old cheerleader. There was no crimes. The only crime being committed is they weren't giving her food and they weren't giving her doggone money back. You know, like
Mm. Well, Cara, question. So when it happened, how did you initially find out,
the
Alexis?
police did come to the door that morning and tell me. They gave notification at the door.
Okay,
They gave notification at the door. Remember, they told me that there was a crash and a shooting, and
right.
they didn't know what had happened.
Oh, so they didn't tell you that she was shot by the police.
They didn't. They said there was an incident where there was a crash and a shooting, and we're not sure which um, caused her death. But her body is being transported to the morgue.
Mm,
Oh, and that even after doing that, we tried to go ID the body. Well, her dad did. All of a sudden, her body's not at the morgue, it's at the hospital. Call the hospital, we can't go there. We have to wait for it to get back to the morgue. That happened for like some days. We didn't even
so
know if we were going to have her body by the time of her funeral.
wow.
And I really believe because there was protesting already, and it was, I believe they were doing that to prevent us from seeing the fact that she had been shot in her head.
Mm,
Because we didn't know that until we got her body to the funeral home. And another task I deliberately avoided. I sent my sister to dress her and take her clothes, and I told her, "You see, find out where they shot my baby." You know, I said, "You look at everything." And she got there and she asked the lady, like, "What's that?" She saw something and she says, "Oh, you didn't know?" You know, yeah.
mm.
So that's how we find out she's got bullets in her head. But that's the reason I didn't want to ID her or go to the morgue because or go to the funeral home. I was afraid of what I would see, and I already feel and have enough thoughts. I definitely didn't want to see that like that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so sorry for your loss, Cara. I mean,
Thank you.
it's I can't imagine what you've been through. and it's not just a story. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like
it's not.
that's why I want to talk to you. It's not just a story. I think people see stuff on the news, um, and even what's on out there right now in 2025, and this happened in 2021. The
Yeah.
information, the context is not there, which I
It's
think
not. It
is
was
sad.
something that they went, just like she talks about fake news. That's exactly what they tried to do. They tried to bury her in fake news, and see, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of things had come from this incident, simply because now the residents were looking at their mayor for answers.
Sure.
One, why would you say this about a 19-year-old girl that you had not even looked at the body cam, the dash cam footage, and then you look and you have nothing to say to this family. So a lot of people were, well, one, we were protesting. So this is where shutting down the board meetings went, because she had started having them after COVID in
Hmm.
person. I think they might have done a couple, but there was one that they were doing that we were actively protesting.
Okay.
That was the day that protesters got arrested. Camilla Williams, Rabbi Ben Yosef, all of them ended up getting arrested on that day, and that was during one of the meetings, one of the village meetings.
Okay.
But of course, outside. So after that, that's when she started locking Village Hall down.
Okay.
So if you go back to the very first time she locked Village Hall down, my lawyer and my ex-husband were there. And they were there to discuss with her what she had said. At that time, it was questions and answers, right? So she shut the board meeting down. So the next time, and she pulled off. She was there. She left because we could see her pull off. Um, so then there was another time we went to protest in front of her house, and at that point in time, we had her mugshot with us, which
Okay.
no one knew about. So I thank my child for finding that mugshot, because at that point in time, nobody was really, she was just starting to, get in office, and people really didn't know about that. So we protested with her mugshot. That's when she got her security detail. So she used that protest to justify security detail. It's also when she
Oh,
shut
okay.
down questions and answers. It used to be questions and answers, went to public comment because people were asking her what happened to Alexis
Okay.
in the comments. They even would shut down comments altogether on her while they were doing the Zoom, which was illegal. You're not supposed to shut down the voice of the residents.
During the board meetings.
So then it started saying, okay, no more questions, just
Hmm.
comments, public comments. That's it. So all of those things, the shutting down the board meetings, the public comments, the security detail, hell, Dr. Nikita, all of them are a result of Alexis being killed in Dalton, and Tiffany not wanting to take any type of accountability for the words that she spoke about a child she had no clue about, and then come to find out that it's her daughter's birthday on the day that my daughter died, and you stand there and disparage another young black girl on your daughter's birthday, and then you want to holler we're black.
Mm. Well, and Cara, the how long was it after? How long was it from Alexis's murder to when Tiffany Henyard made those statements about your daughter?
Not even 24 hours.
Wow.
It was that morning, the morning of
And
the
she didn't
day
look
she
into the
got
case.
killed.
She didn't look into the case at
She
all
had not even looked at the camera footage that was available to her.
before calling her another criminal off the street.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. When I tell you, well, you're from here. This girl went to HF, grew up in Homewood.
Hmm.
She is not a thug, to say the least.
Not at
Like
all.
no, these are blue ribbon schools and a nice community.
Yeah,
She's
absolutely.
she's not a thug at all. You know, no, in no kind of way. That girl was destined for greatness, even if I had to drag her there.
As any mama would, you know.
Okay, all of my kids have gone to college. All of my children are doing well.
Hmm.
That's what my family does.
it seems very early for her to do that. So I know that, obviously, there's been so much problems in Dalton in general, but with the police department, did anybody from the police department offer you any type of
No, 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 no. No
then
one had
ignoring
anything
you
to
in a
say.
way?
Um, when we did meet with them, they were well. The Illinois State Police is investigating, and that's all they stood behind. Collins himself, I saw a report where a reporter asked him, "Did your officer strike the young lady?" He says, "I can't tell you if he did or if he didn't, but you have the video."
Yeah.
Come
And I
on,
and I did see that. I did see
and
that.
and
And
yeah,
that's the
ridiculous.
context that's so sad that's missing. So to recap the content, just so people understand, she didn't go Alexis did not go to Baba's uh just randomly and go knock on the window because they were closed. She
No.
ordered DoorDash. They messed up the order. Alexis and her boyfriend decided to go to save some money. They decided to go pick up the order. Order was wrong. They go back to the window. Initially, they ignore them. Then the employee comes up there and says 1 minute. So her and her boyfriend assume that they're going to correct the order. So they're sitting there chilling. Meanwhile, the employees have called the police and said that somebody is threatening with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Officer Perez and Carlton come already ready to
Mm-hmm.
confront someone who has a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And when Perez reaches into the car, as we see in the footage, now you said it was keyless entry, which is a great point because they also say, and again, it's sad that this stuff has not been cleared up in the media because they say
And they
he's
don't
reaching
choose to do
into.
so.
It's a shame. They say he's reaching in to grab her keys, but
He's
there's
really
no
trying to
keys.
snatch her out. And but where is she going to go? Because literally there is no space, sir.
Yes.
And she told you she wasn't dressed. Why are you touching her? And there's a woman right there. Now, contrary to that, as you see, you didn't see she was naked. You see she's got something on. She's got on
Right.
like a sports bra and a little bitty shorts and some
Right.
her robe. She went like she was going to bed.
Anybody with common sense, when she says I'm naked, it don't mean that she was naked. So,
Yeah, but you know how people like to use that literally because she should have complied, right? She should have got out.
well, you know the thing about it, Cara, is that and that's why I wanted to talk to you because the context. Her getting out is very difficult because they're in a drive-through and the officer's standing there.
And that
So,
little yellow pole thing is there.
so all he needed to do was, if he wanted her to turn off the car, if it's push start, you could just push the button to turn the car off.
Yes.
So, because I went through the official state's attorney report and I
Mhm.
and I read through it a couple times and
And
it's
how do they say they can't see? They said they cannot ascertain whether or not Officer Perez struck Alexis. Now, you're supposed to be the biggest and the best and the brightest, and you can't see what we can see? Well, somebody get that person some glasses because we can all see that she was punched, but you said you can't tell.
well, Cara, let me ask you a question. When they ask Alexis to get out of the car, right? They commanded
Mhm.
it, but what were they? Has anybody told you what the police were expecting her to do as far as getting out of the car? Because I don't see how she would have physically got out of the car.
I no, not at all. Not at all. There's no answer for that.
Because when you read through it, it says, the officer had commanded her to get out of the car, but physically, it's not like a
It
traffic
was
stop.
impossible.
It doesn't seem possible. So the only
And
way she
he's
could have got
like
out of the
he's
car.
like 300 pounds. So like there's no way she and he would fit in that space.
I'm no police officer, but no police officer would tell a passenger to get out of the car if the passenger has to squeeze against them to get out. That in and of itself would create danger for the officer if the officer didn't know. So the only way for her to get out of the car, from my view, would be that she would have had to get out on the passenger side.
Mm-hmm.
That looks to
Or
be the
let
only
her
way,
move the car up.
or let her move the car up. So it's
But see, there was no patience at all. There was no discussion. There was no, okay, ma'am, what's the matter? There was no nothing. And all this time they're there and she's thinking that she's right because she's been robbed. No clue that they came for her like that,
Mm.
but I guess she's probably thinking like, because I know there was a part they said she pushed the pole out the car with her foot, you know like, no, no, this was it, and push the pole out the car with her foot. um I didn't hear it, I didn't see or hear that part. um but if that's the case, that she showed them what they were being called for, and she's thinking like, okay, well, they took my money, they took my food, are you going to help me? All he wanted was her to get out the car. He wanted her. He wasn't there to help her. He wanted to apprehend her.
Well, I want to go back to something that you said as well, because essentially, in your daughter's murder, the idea that the policeman was dragged was used as the
Over and over and
justification for the
over.
shooting. So you did mention before that the officer seemed to actually sit in the car, because I was watching
Mm,
his body cam too, and
hmm
it's
It
kind
goes
of interesting
black or
they haven't
something
given you all
around
the
there.
answers. Oh, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Somewhere around, it goes black around there.
Okay. Yeah, it's just it's interesting that they didn't, because being a push start, if the goal was to stop the car, I would think the goal would be, let's first of all, before we drag the person out, we want to make sure, because they always say, please turn the car off. Please
Hmm
turn the ignition off. So if the goal is to turn the ignition off, either Perez from the left side either is going to reach in and he can push start, because it didn't look like he reached in to push start anything. It looked like she had
he
her
was
hands on the
trying to
steering wheel and he
grab
just
her.
grabbed
Yeah.
her. He grabbed her wrist. So I would think that Carlton on the passenger side had clear access to just push the button to turn the car off first and
Yeah.
foremost. You would kind of
And
start
he could have done that when he jumped in the vehicle as well. He
exactly.
had a lot of choices himself. And his deposition claims he did not have his taser on his belt, but then they find a taser on the floor in my car. They, when I tell you these officers lied, oh my God, all the way through their depositions, they lied so bad. Lied
Well,
so bad.
you beat me to the punch, because I was going to ask you. My thought when I just looked at the whole story, I said to myself, why didn't they tase her if they felt if they wanted to incapacitate her in any fashion? Why didn't they just tase her? And I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask you, was there a taser there?
Yes, absolutely was. Um, there's one point in the deposition where my attorney asked him, "Does your gun ever make direct contact with her head?" And he says, "I don't remember. I don't recall." Sounds like that may have been the case. And then they like literally talked about my child like she was a stray cat. Um, when asked, did you try to give life saving measures to Alexis? They said, he go, no, she almost killed my partner. I had to get him out of the vehicle. I hurt my hand again, trying to help them remove her from the vehicle. No, because see, those things were recorded. He hurt his hand trying to, they were trying to lift the roof of the vehicle off of his partner. That's where he hurt his football injury again, trying to lift that roof. That side of the car wasn't smashed, but they pulled him through the back behind her and did not even, he said, well, I could see that she was slumped. But that's it. Like they didn't try to save her. They didn't even look at her, according to them. Not only that, but then mentions that they don't even what did they tell us, that they don't know how many times she was shot. He doesn't know how many times he shot the weapon, and Perez can't remember the name of the first man he killed.
Mm.
So, you know, if I am someone that has had to kill someone, whether line of duty or not, I think that with a conscience, that's going to weigh on me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna want to know more. You're not curious
Absolutely.
at all about what the consequences of your actions. I mean, how do you pray to God to forgive you if you don't even know the man's name?
Absolutely.
Because you don't care about forgiveness. He doesn't. That's not something that he cares about. That man is evil. Like I said, I saw how he talked about my daughter in those other cases. He does not care. Does
Yeah,
not
it
care, and
doesn't
he
seem
lied on everybody.
it doesn't seem like they did anything to de-escalate this at all. I mean, I think
And then
officers
wrote a report saying that he did.
that okay, so the report said they did try to
There is a
de-escalate.
report from the woman on the scene that says that he tried to de-escalate the situation.
Well, just for clarity, so we have the two officers, Carlton and Perez. There were two other officers outside of that on the scene, or was there
Yes,
more than that?
I know for sure too.
Okay, and one of them was a woman.
Yes,
Okay,
and the other was a sergeant, a white shirt,
okay.
whose body cam didn't work that night.
It's always conveniently doesn't work, right?
Right,
Or it turns off at the right time. That's what happens most of the time. So,
right.
um, well, let me ask you about Alexis's boyfriend at the time. Like, what did he tell you as far as his vantage point? Because he was obviously there. What did he say?
Pretty much that, once they pulled up, the reason that Lexi was hitting on the window with the stick is because they told her that if she didn't take what they had, then she wasn't getting anything, and they didn't say it so nicely, you know. So he says she picked up and hit on the window with a stick, and then they were on their cell phones. I asked him at one point, "You got out the car and went around to the other side of the vehicle?" He said that was to give her her phone back because everybody, the police and the what do you call restaurant owner was saying, "Oh, see, gun, gun." I said, "No, cell phone," because I can see the light drop from her face. And then the kid gets out, goes on the other side, hands her her cell phone, which I would have done too. I do know I was going out of town the next day. Both of us had gotten our nails done. So I know she's like, "Oh, I dropped my phone. Can you get it for me?"
Hmm.
Again, princessy. But that's how that goes. Can you get my
Yeah,
phone for me? So he
just
gets
regular
out, goes
stuff.
around, gets the phone, huh?
No, I was saying just regular stuff to what
Yeah,
that someone would do. Yeah.
So, but they wanted to say that he was giving her a gun. Now, I don't know. I'm old school. I know you better not get out a gun and hand it to me.
I mean that's just stupid though. I mean who is going now
You better
this is when the
not.
police are on them. This is when the police are right there. So they're
No,
saying
well, that was before they pulled up.
so
That
he's
he
saying
had
he
gone
went around to
and
hand
see
her
if you watch like Collins mentions that specifically. He does. He says that there's a point in time where the gentleman goes around the car to the other side and hands the young woman something. But that's what he was. That was it. It was her phone.
but the thing about it is that it's about common sense. So what do she need a gun for to
And
go
ain't
to
nobody there. Right.
she wasn't trying to commit a robbery. It wasn't a
They were just sitting
robbery. It
there.
was going to
Yeah.
pick up some food. So what does he need to go hand her a gun for? Like what
You're right.
you know
And this is during the calming period where they think they're waiting for their food.
right.
So make it make sense. But anything that makes her look bad or criminalizes her is what they use. And that's what they did here. And just by inciting people with the idea that she was trying to kill cops is enough. Because I've been on shows like yours, I read the comments. I want to see how people um, think about it. Oh, it's been some nasty stuff.
Yeah.
Um, People definitely believe the police no matter what they do or say, just because they have a tendency to do so, or they believe that the boys in blue are supposed to always be honest, but they're people and they're not. You
Absolutely.
know,
No, you
they
are
lie just like others.
to your point though, Cara. I looked at the news footage and kind of I looked at the comments and I wanted to
Hmm.
see what people were saying. And you're right. When I look at the comments, I said, "Wow."
Comply or die. Um, you play stupid games, you get stupid tricks.
Yeah.
She should have got out the car. What was she doing naked? you
Yeah.
know, um,
Yeah.
some of them accused her of being a whore. She was turning tricks, and so I looked at that, and that was the one of the major forces for me to start talking to people and getting the truth about what happened to her that night out there. Because I'll be damned if you kill her and then you get to take her legacy too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got the wrong one for that one.
Yeah. I was disturbed by that too. When I went and read the comments, I said, you know what? Now I didn't know all the details, obviously, that you're telling me,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously, being a friend of Viv's, she told me a little bit about it as well, and I was like, well, I know people aren't out there protesting for someone who went up there with a gun to try to do something crazy. It doesn't make sense. There's always, unless
Exactly.
there's context that gets out there where people can say, "Oh, okay, those little pieces matter. The DoorDash order matters. Going up there and why she was there and why she tapped on the window, whether people agree whether she knocked on the window with that sticker or not, that
It
doesn't
didn't.
even
It
matter."
was a cinder block window, and that was a feather pole flag, like I hang them outside of my businesses. You know,
Gotcha.
so it's like that feather that this grand
Yeah.
opening flag or what have you.
Yeah.
So I just happened to pull past them. They were broken, and so I pulled them out the ground and stuck them in my car. And
And
that's what it
it's
was, a
it's
broken piece
nothing
of
to
a
be dying over.
flagpole. And the window, like I said, it's cinder block. You know how the windows are, like, it's cinder block. You can't get through that window.
No, well, you know what? And the other thing too is that I always go by common sense and context. So I
Mm-hmm.
always say, if someone said, okay, hypothetically, if she had a gun and was tapping on the window, what did they think that she was there to do? Right? Because once you say that she had a gun, then we have to say, well, what was she implying? What was she trying to do? Right?
With
And
that gun,
we
right.
have to decide that, because an action has to mean something, right? So she wasn't trying to rob the place. She
And
wasn't.
irate because the store is closed
Yeah.
makes absolutely no sense. I'm gonna tell you, my baby know where to find food at midnight because we did it all the time. Look, we know Portillo's is open late. We know we know you
Right.
can
Right.
always go to White Castle's. We know where the late time. Gyro Express. Listen, we know where to go get our food at midnight.
Yeah.
So that restaurant, we've gone through that a million times. We'll try over there. We'll try over here.
Of course. Of course.
We midnight eat all the time.
Just the idea that she's gonna go there and be mad
Yes,
because
like
they're
I said, she
closed is
knows where the next
ridiculous.
stop is. And then Maxwell's right there. It's open 24/7. It's too many options for her to get to want to wave a gun at employees because they're
Yeah.
closed. And then what they gonna do? You finna make them make your
Right.
sandwich?
Exactly. So
None of it makes sense.
it don't
None
make
of it
sense,
makes
right? And yeah,
sense.
absolutely, absolutely. The idea that she's not gonna force them to make her some food. So I think people don't take the time to look at context, and they don't take
They
the
don't
time to
care
look at
until it's
common
theirs.
sense.
They don't. They just don't care until it's theirs.
Right. Right.
You know, if it meant something, like I said, even with the news reports, when the news anchors would come out and say, um, 3 cops were dragged. If you see, they went as far as 3 cops were dragged. She aimed her vehicle at. One cop shot her 3 times. It was the officer she was aiming the vehicle at. They say all of that, and none of that happened. But my baby's buried in all these lies, and people believe all of that with the video being there, and you don't see any of that with your own eyes. And they said, well, we couldn't really see the other side of the car very well. You didn't see nobody hanging from it, though. Like this is not the Terminator. These are human people. There's no way this man is being drugged halfway down the street, pulls himself in the car, and shoots her 7 times within 4 seconds. Because she was dead in 4 seconds. 4 seconds from the puncher man, she was dead.
4 seconds after that.
Yes. 52 seconds for him, and I believe 53 and 57 seconds into it. So I'm really close second wise, but it was just that quick. 4 seconds later. In 4 seconds, he did not get drugged, pull himself into the vehicle, and then shoot her.
Hmm.
He is not the Terminator. That man was sitting in the vehicle next to my daughter. He shot her point blank range and then hurt himself when he crashed into the building because he shot the driver of the vehicle.
That's a good point, Cara, because the way that the story seems to be told is that as he's being drugged, he's shooting her, and you'd have to believe that.
How did he get back in the vehicle though? Because when it ends at that bike shop, you don't see him hanging out of the car. How did he get back in there?
And that's a good point, because again, these are just details that they really don't, it's not there. So when I heard the story in and of itself, it's funny you said that, because when I go and I read over the official state attorney's document, I said to myself, when they hit that bike shop, where was he? Because if he's hanging out of the car, his injuries would have been really serious, I would imagine. Probably killed. If you're hanging
Mm-hmm.
out of a car and you hit
Mm-hmm.
a building to
Mm-hmm.
the effect where the roof comes down and you actually hit.
He didn't roll off in the grass nowhere
Right.
because he was in
Right.
a car with the car door closed.
Hmm.
As
That
she
doesn't make
comes
sense.
out, when she comes through those first two doors, two cars, the passenger side door closes then.
That's what I noticed too. It's funny you say, I
So
would notice
where is
that
he
too.
hanging from?
Right.
That door is closed. That man is sitting right next to her.
Yeah.
Lying.
When I saw that car, I was looking at it and I said the same thing. Once they passed that first car, I was looking for the officer being drugged, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't see that. So
He
these are
like,
the
it's
things
got
that
to be
people
an
have to
officer
look at.
somewhere in here being drugged. They made all that noise about an officer being drugged or the car being aimed at an officer. Somebody better be getting drugged. Nobody was getting drugged. No, no, nobody. He was sitting up next to her like a passenger in your car.
Just for people to understand, as she pulled off
Mm-hmm.
and she strikes a car that's on the right side, on the passenger side,
Mm-hmm.
if a body, like the officer, presumably, right? If he's hanging out of the car, he probably would have been killed because he would have been crushed between your car, the car Lexi's driving, and the car that she struck. If you're hanging out of the car, right?
He claims he was.
I don't see it though.
He claims he was. In his deposition, absolutely yes, sir. He claims that he was.
I don't see how he would have survived. For one, it's not on the video, and even if it was, even if we didn't see it, I don't see how he would have survived. You
He said
know?
he was drugged halfway down the street before he could pull himself back into that vehicle.
Yeah. So people who are making these comments have to, one, look at common sense, and then two, like I said, I'm glad that you gave me the time to sit with you,
Oh,
because
absolutely. I'm always willing to talk about
this
my
this
dog.
context is important. It's so important, and I agree with you. It's many
There was
times,
nothing
I,
she
I
did that
agree
night
too. I
that
took
deserved what happened. Nothing.
absolutely,
Nothing. There
and
was
we tell
nothing
our
that she
kids
did that night prior to the police showing up that was even arrestable. Hitting on that window? No. Mm-mm.
yeah, and we all want our kids to comply with police
Oh,
if they're pulled
absolutely.
over.
We
We
give
don't
them
want our
that
kids to
speech.
fight
You
with
know, we
police.
have to. We have to give them that speech. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. You know, don't challenge the officer. Look, like, come on. We have to give this talk to them because our kids will be the first to be killed.
Right.
You get Becky gets 15 minutes to talk shit and talk about who my dad is. She gets 15 minutes of that. My baby didn't even get one whole minute,
Yeah.
not even 60 seconds.
Yeah.
She got 7 bullets within a 4 second time frame from that man punching her to, and just the thought of the fear, the panic in her, and that when it's over, she's just laid out there with nobody giving a damn. And the people that did it are the ones who surround her in her last breath, you know, whenever that was taken. There was no one there that cared or comforted her. She left this world in a hail of bullets for fucking $10 off at DoorDash.
Mm.
And an ignorant staff that wants to think it's funny to call and say she had a gun, and they're back there laughing, and yet they suffer no repercussions either.
Mm.
So everybody gets to just do this to her and get away with it, including that filthy ass mayor.
And she pulled off in fear because obviously they
She
tried to
just
cut
been
this.
punched twice by a 300-pound 6'2" man. Ain't nobody ever hit her like that in her life.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. With his mag light in his hand. That girl was 100 pounds, a size 0. You look at her arms when she's got tiny little bitty something. The only she was tall. Tall for I guess kind of tall. She's 5'7".
Sure.
I'm a little taller than her, but she's tall, but 100 pounds. Size 0.
I mean, he could have. There's a lot of things that could have been done
Having a
when you want to
conversation because
preserve
she's a
life.
very intelligent girl. Just having a conversation with her would have helped.
Yeah.
But the yelling and screaming, and she's already now you've already put them on offensive. There was no attempt to de-escalate anything at all. None.
I didn't see anything to de-escalate it. There was no. He could have handcuffed her. He could have had his partner turn the ignition off. I mean, whatever the case was,
And that guy could have shot in the engine instead of shooting in my child.
he could have shot in the engine.
They had already ascertained that there was no weapon. They would have never holstered their weapons had there been.
Right. So let me ask you, Cara, let me ask you about this gun that they found. So did you ever know of Cara? I mean, I have to ask you, do you ever know of Cara to have a gun?
Alexis, no, never,
Excuse me, my mistake.
never, never.
I'll edit this out.
Um,
I'm tripping. I mean Alexis. My apologies.
yes, no, never. Um, Now her dad was filming he does a show called Plug-In, so they have some fake weapons in there. Alexis has taken a picture with one of them, but never real. That's playing on her dad's set.
So what was this gun that they claim they found 4 days later?
I really don't have a clue. I know nothing about guns. I
Did
don't know
they
what
ever
type
did
of
they
gun they said
ever
it
because if they
was.
found a gun, they didn't ask you or they didn't do any type of
No,
list.
they put the boyfriend in jail. He's in jail, and they were for so long he didn't have any type of no type of proceedings. They just kept continuing and continuing, and then they ended up letting him plea to like 7 years. Now, what's funny is that they asked him, or they presented him with 5 years. I said, well, you can have your ask your attorney to counter offer. You can ask if 4 years is if you could do 4 instead of the 6 or whatever you wanted to give him. And when he asked about the 4, it was 5 he wanted to give him, but they ended up giving him 7 because he asked. They actually took the offer away and told him he's going to do 11 years. So then when they presented him with the new offer, it was 7 years.
What were they charging him for?
For I guess possession of the weapon. I never looked into his case, to be honest. I haven't. I just assume there's some other stuff might be going on in his background that I don't know about, and at this point, it really is of no consequence. But I would hate for him to be sitting there for something that he really did not do.
Yeah.
You know, um, yeah. So I mean, I don't know about.
Hmm.
Like I said, I really believe had there been one in the vehicle, why wouldn't they have found it at the crash scene?
Yeah.
Like, where could it have possibly been that it was holding it so tight that it didn't give it up?
Yeah.
when the car crashed. And it
Yeah.
was a pretty severe accident, you know.
Yeah. That would have been found pretty early.
Right, you would think. So,
Well, and ultimately there was no crime. Ultimately, there, we know from the footage, Alexis didn't have a gun in her hand. We do know
no,
that.
not at all.
We also know that there was literally no
Never
crime.
one brandished for at anyone.
Ed Brandes at anyone exactly. So there really is no reason for it to be escalated to that point.
Hmm.
Um, and like I said, I'm really, really, really sorry for your loss. My condolences to you again. It
I
just,
am too.
you know, I think that, like you said, people don't care until it's their child.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that it's very easy just to write stuff off and say, well, why didn't this person comply? You know what I'm saying? It's very easy to just do that
It
without
is.
digging
You know,
into it.
and another thing that I, with this thing with the local news, it really upsets me. The fact that they were so quick to rush and air everything dirty, they, the whole statement that Dalton let out, and what Tiffany said, and in any of their following reports, they never questioned why the story had changed so many times already. They never questioned it. One day you're reporting that this girl aimed her car at cops and drugged three cops, and the next day you're saying, well, one cop was injured or two cops. Your story changed so often. The story that was told by the media changed so often. Not one of them journalists thought to say, wait a minute. What's really happening here? Because this story keeps changing, but nobody gave a damn to look further. And I know I was very upset with that documentary Regina Waldrop did. Very upset. How do you make a documentary about any of this without mentioning that it all started with the death of my daughter? The only
Mm,
reason Dr. Nikita was ever called into that position was to cover up the mess that Sean Howard made, calling my daughter a naked crackhead or whatever he was saying about her.
mm,
But she came in to clean up that mess and the mess Tiffany made when she made her statement. And if you see that one time she gives that speech at the village park district, when Dr. Nikita came out to talk to the residents, she said that she was hired as a direct result of what had happened with Alexis, and the mayor wanted her to apologize for it. So, you know, um, with that and watching that documentary, all of the questions, like even with the security detail, you see, Colin said when there were protests going on and her security was warranted. Okay, protests were going on; they were about Alexis. Security was not warranted because we not finna, you know,
right.
we angry, but we not finna go trying to do anything to anybody other than the legal way.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, would I like to see her get smacked? Yeah, two times. But I'm just saying, we were. That's not what we were doing.
That's not the goal.
You know, uh, we wanted her to simply say that she misspoke, that she should have, but I think people had to show me that later on she tried to give some type. I didn't believe that, because if you called this press conference, you called all these people, all these channels out to see you disparage my child, and then you want to sneak me I shouldn't have said it. No, no, call them back and tell them you shouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know and like I said, so there's been no type of fixing this. They have not tried to amend any of the stories. They just keep moving on, and it's almost like, oh, here comes that lady talking about her daughter again. In any of the local media, anytime they've been up there, anytime that I've been and I've spoken, they omitted it from any of the media the next day. Pay
Right.
attention.
I
They
have.
even used my words. When I said I wouldn't trust this woman if she stood on a stack of Bible and had her tongue notarized, that was somebody's headlines the next day, but didn't attribute it to where it came from.
Okay.
Like it never mentioned Alexis. People are outside screaming Alexis' name. Never mentioned. I have the one, which who did it? One of the auditor guys were there. I forgot which one. Midwest Accountability, I think. Yep. They did a clip where they had the clip of me coming up and speaking, and then afterwards, the police are trying to put me out. um, Dolton, all news feed stopped as soon as the rabbi comes up and says, "Say her name," and so they stop it right there.
Hmm.
But at that point, the people inside, the people outside started yelling Alexa's name. The police are trying to put me out, and I'm going, "Don't touch me! Don't put your hands on me!" I'm going, "Don't touch me!" And my
Hmm.
sister's grabbing my jacket. We're just trying to get out the door, but they're trying to like force us out at the same time. That's when Lacey stopped the meeting and said, "Okay, everybody's got to go." And then the lawyer said, "No, no, like just the guy." And they said, "No, just the guy." But we were outside the building by then. Would you hear those doors open? The way you hear these people chanting my daughter's name
Hmm.
doesn't make the news. That
Yeah.
was the most dramatic moment of the whole entire evening. None of that made the news. The only thing made the news was Lacey trying to shut down the meeting,
Right.
but they never
Right.
showed why.
Mm.
So why do they keep doing this to my daughter's story?
Yeah. It seems like they just wanna sweep it under the not sweep it under the rug per se, but to minimize it. I would say.
But
Really?
every local news outlet is there and none of them find it worthy. That's a slap in the face as well.
Yeah.
Because at some point somebody could have said, "You know what? This story has taken a different turn, and like there were no cops drug and these officers lied." They don't want to point out none of that.
Well, has anybody from Legacy Media actually reached out to get more details?
I
Because,
don't
like
even
I
know who
said,
that
I'm
is.
surprised.
I don't even know who that is.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, no. Dr. Rashad Ritchie did the story when it first came out. I can't reach back to even get an update, you know, or get the update to him rather.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
don't
This
know.
is this is
Um,
it's
just
crazy.
seems like there's not any interest in it,
Well,
and I don't understand why.
I do know the residents um, keep your daughter's name alive. At least it
Oh
seems that
yeah.
way to me. I've seen you at board meetings, not physically, but I've seen you, online at board meetings speaking. And Dalton, people definitely keep your daughter's name alive.
Oh,
But I think
absolutely
that
do.
more detail, because we have the benefit of the body cam, and we have the
Hmm.
benefit of that just to understand the story and compare it to what was on the news. And I think that
Lord, and if we didn't have that,
yeah.
like just imagine, like there would never be any clarity to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you ever hear of any other footage outside of the body cam? Everywhere is filmed. Is there film from Baba's or
Yeah,
anywhere around?
there should be film from Babas too.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, that kind of brings me to, I know, do you have a civil lawsuit with Dalton, right?
That civil lawsuit was actually settled a month or so ago.
Okay.
There is no money there. They have this new insurance company that definitely is not insuring them for the 10 million that they already lost, and that's they're still like negative 13 million, 13.5. Wait a minute, I got the wrong number. 23.5 million dollars short of what they have to pay out in that lawsuit,
Mm.
which Perez was actually involved in as well.
This is another police murder.
Yep, Perez and Lacey, the two young men that I don't know what they crashed into. They were Perez and Lacey were told to stop the pursuit. It was a car
Oh,
pursuit, and
okay.
one of the boys were killed. The other young man was given a TBI.
Yes.
So they won $33.5 million lawsuit together. So that's where Dolton is the negative 23 and a half. So yeah, no, they're right now they're just trying to get all these lawsuits settled as quick and as cheap as possible. There is no money there.
Hmm. So it was settled, and
Yes, they did it in the public meeting for 900,000.
okay, okay. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, nothing's gonna bring your daughter back, but
No, and that ain't shit either.
right, right.
That really.
Not this, yeah. No amount is really gonna be justified, or not
No,
justified, but
no.
no amount could compensate you, I would say. But yeah, I mean, it's you know, do you feel like Tiffany Henyard's administration has covered up anything in the investigation per se?
Um, I think that they definitely have lied and covered things up because, of course, by trying to say that she was dragging cops, like I said, it's inciting people. Those words are incendiary, and so people hear that and automatically they jump on the cop side, and she had to have. So I think that was a lot of it. Just the fake news that they put out, but see, it wasn't just fake news. They falsified reports. They lied in depositions. They did all of that. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Hmm,
And
hmm.
and what I learned about it is that the courts don't care. They don't care. There is no justice.
And the thing of it is that outside of the civil, I would imagine that if you could, you would love to see something criminally,
Oh, absolutely. That was the
right?
first thing in the first thing that was our main focus. Um, and even when we went over to Munster and we said, "Well, hey, he's killed this many people," they say, "Well, Kim Fox never charged him," and there you have it.
Hmm.
And I'm like, you guys, Illinois State Police investigate every time there's a police involved fatality. So you've seen this man's name cross your desk 4 times, and you're not concerned. Like, where's the limit? You get to keep going. Like, you get to run your numbers up. What is this?
Yeah, yeah.
That wouldn't cause alarm when you see there's officers that's been there 20 years. They haven't killed anyone, and you have this guy who's killed. He's thirsty for blood now. This is a serial killer.
Hmm.
And when I called him that, and Munster, the lady says, "How dare you accuse him of being a serial killer?" I said, "The definition of a serial killer is someone who kills multiple people within several different incidents, and he fits the criteria, ma'am.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
serial killer. I don't care if he has a badge. He has a taste for blood now."
Hmm. And escalating situations that don't need to go into that
Mm-hmm.
level, and then finding, because when you boil it all down, you have to say to yourself, if there's no dragging, right, and there's a punch, then you got to say to yourself that the murder is not justified, because that's, from what I read, those are the two main things that they're trying
Mm-hmm.
to use for justification. Mainly the dragging. They try to use it
Mm-hmm.
as justification. Um, but
That did not happen.
if she's punched, I mean, you never know what somebody's going to do, because it doesn't look like, from what, and you could tell me if I'm wrong. Alexis doesn't have the car in park.
No.
She probably has her foot on the
On the
brake.
break. Mm-hmm.
So as he's punching her, that's why it's not like she put the car
No,
in
the car
drive and
moved
just started
forward, and
driving.
it's almost like it was like, oh, aha, the car can move,
Yeah.
because it did. From the video from the back, and I think it was Baba's, when that second punch, she goes back. It looks as if her foot must have come off the brake because the car moves forward just a little bit before stopping, and
Okay.
then it's like you can actually see the car like try to position itself. Like she was trying to figure out which way, but the guy's right here, so she just goes forward. But it's like it jumps forward, and then she starts looking for a way out, you know. And then she couldn't find a way. She went forward. You got that pole and that police car on this side by
Right.
Baba's, and you have the car on this side, on her right side.
Hmm.
So when she tried to maneuver, it was just that way to go.
Yeah.
You know, now mind you, that only takes a couple like a second or so. It doesn't,
Yeah.
take very long to. So, and within, like I said, 4 seconds of him punching her, she's dead.
Mm, 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 mm.
So,
Well,
lots of things they could have did different that night.
so many things.
The
So many
things I
things.
wish she would have done different that night, of course. Like, for one, stay at home and wait for DoorDash,
Yeah.
like she planned on.
Well, the thing of it is, Cara, is that people have to realize that, they always make it seem like, when you're pulled over, regular citizens can make mistakes, even when they
Oh,
think they're
absolutely.
they're complying. They can make mistakes. They can get nervous. We all do things that can make us completely nervous, and it's the same way cops say that they get nervous as well. Cops are human. They can get nervous, but
Absolutely.
that's why their job is to de-escalate first, so you don't cause someone to make a mistake, because
Hmm.
it doesn't seem
It could
likely.
be fatal for yourself or them. Like
Absolutely.
that, honestly, that cop could have killed himself jumping in my car.
Yeah,
You know, he almost did kill himself.
that's a great point.
He
That's a
almost did kill himself. Because that, so you see the car landed like on the side of the building like this, he was in that side. That's where the roof came down on the car at. Like I said, she was on this side of the vehicle. The roof didn't cave on her; it caved on him. That's where his injuries came from. But that was the thing, even talking to these lawyers and judges, and it's, well, his injuries can sustain it, sustain his side of the story. I said, but the video doesn't. And I said, well, his career is over now. It's pretty messed up. Her life is over. Like literally, and this is in the settlement meeting. My ex husband and I just stopped talking because I heard they're not listening to anything I say. It all boils down to um, what the rights of the cops are versus her rights as a civilian, and
yeah.
she has none.
Yeah, it's almost like as a citizen, you have to just literally be sitting there and just get shot. Even if you're just sitting there and get shot, there's still
They
some
question
reason.
that.
Yeah, there's still something you may. They say, "What did you do?" You know. So
Get shot in your own house,
right,
sitting on your couch eating ice cream.
yeah. Like I said, I'm really sorry for your loss. Once again, I
I
appreciate
appreciate
the
it.
time. I'm not going to hold you all night, but Cara, I really wanted to. Hopefully, I'm helping to provide more context to let people know
Absolutely. Let's
who
correct the
Alexis was.
narrative that's been put out there.
Yeah,
I
and I
appreciate
just
it.
yeah, no problem. I want to contribute to who she is. People can make their people gonna say whatever they want to say regardless. But
Mhm.
again, like you said it best. People don't care until it's their child, and it's important to understand all the details and understand who, she was a person.
But
You
see,
know,
but if we don't do something about mine or theirs or the Sonia Masseys or the George Floyd, it could
right?
be yours.
Yeah,
It could very well one day be yours.
yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
who thinks this is going to happen in their life?
We
Who
never
thinks
know.
this is going to happen? We were going about our lives doing great. Things are getting, getting better and better, and my businesses were thriving, and, we were doing well. And then all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, everything is gone. Man, you can't really even explain it. Um, there's no words to express the impact this has
Yeah,
had on my life in every way, mentally, financially, physically, in every way.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
it doesn't just go away. You
Yeah,
know, it doesn't go away. I've talked to moms. This has happened 10 years ago, and they're still broken and in the bed. You know, actually, those are the mothers that pushed me to get out of the bed. Because after 3 years, and 3 years literally was just gone, and I'm still in the same place I was the day she died. And I'm seeing these other mothers, and I'm knowing if I don't do something, I'm going to lose everything I've worked for my entire life. I'd already lost one business. I was about to lose another, about to lose my house. I had to get up and do something about it. If I didn't do it, it was nobody's going to help me. Nobody's going to save me. I still have this kid to raise. So, but it's those mothers and the ones that are out and moving around and, you know, getting their stuff back together within months. Wow, I admire them because I just felt like I was so broken. I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't function. Yeah, this takes a toll. It takes a toll on your life. It takes a toll on everybody's life around you.
Yeah.
Nothing's the
Like I
same
said, I can only
anymore.
imagine.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. What do you want people to kind of take away, as far as any lessons or anything that you feel that you can just impart on other people from
Well,
what you've gone through?
all I can say is that as far as with the police, if you have a leg to stand on, please do get a good lawyer, one that actually cares, one that's going to try and help you accomplish the goals you want to accomplish in this. Um, as far as like, I don't know, lessons, I don't know that I've learned any lessons just yet.
Yeah.
You know, I'm open to it. I know that she didn't die in vain, and God has a plan, and I'm just I'll be here when He's ready to tell me what it is. Right now, I do the gift boxes I do for moms every Christmas. I create or have something custom made for each mom. I just pick out 25 different impacted mothers, and that's what they call mothers whose kids were killed by police, is impacted moms, impacted families. So I
Okay.
try to do something for other impacted mothers during the holiday. The first year I did 10, the second year I did 15, this past year I did 25. So hopefully this year I'll get to 30. I do have a GoFundMe, but typically I take care of it myself. I just like buy stuff every month until I get, enough for their boxes. Um, I've done scholarships for girls to get their lash tech licenses. I'm working on talking to one of the local beauty schools to see if we can get some type of scholarship going through them.
Okay.
Because Alexis was about to open her own lash studio. So I want to be able to give that to other girls to be able to do. So I just do little things that push her legacy forward, you know. Um, Actually, I'll show you this 1 second because I can see it on the other side of me, but I can't reach it. So I have like a line of different Forever Lexi um, journals and different calendars and notebooks and like so when I do the packages for moms, I send them out, something that's from Lexi. Um, yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
have a healing journal that I'm going to send to moms for Mother's Day. So this will be the
Okay.
first time I do Mother's Day. Um, so I'm going to try to send out about 10 of those.
Okay. No, that's
So
great.
just doing things to help me feel like I'm, sharing her legacy.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, have you decided to do? Have you done any counseling? Have you throughout these last couple of
I
years?
have on and off. Um, I wasn't really too fond of the online Zoom counseling. So, but I haven't done anything since then. It's been probably about a good 8 months since the last time I saw someone.
Yeah, yeah. And how's the rest of the family? I mean, obviously it's tough, but how's the rest of the family holding up the last 2 years?
Everybody's doing okay. It was a little bit of a setback for my daughter that, the other daughter who, like, those two grew up like twins. Um I think for a while she was battling some depression. Having some once straight A student in school. Now she's struggling, at DePaul. But I think she's gotten she's about to graduate, so she's gotten it back together. Um, and everybody's kind of just coming along.
Good,
When we get together, of course, her name is mentioned over and over, and you know, um, she's not going anywhere.
yeah, absolutely,
We also
absolutely.
do a butterfly release every July 27th.
Okay,
At in what's this called? Marie Irwin Park in Homewood. And it's open to the public. We have a DJ, food, photo booths, and just try to remember her. And her friends usually will get up and say something, or her cousins will say, have a poem they wrote or something like that. Well, we just memorialize her that way.
yeah, absolutely. Keeping her alive. Well, I appreciate you. Again, taking the time. You know,
Thank you.
it's. I don't think any parent is ever ready to deal with losing a child, and
Mhm.
kudos to you for just being strong, um, and getting out the bed and keeping her name
Yeah.
alive, and
Yeah.
and and I I'm really, I feel bad that you, on top of all that, you had to deal with the administration that you had to deal with. It's a lot.
Yes, very disrespectful.
It's a
Yeah.
lot. The restraint it takes, I'm imagining, just to be poised and to be calm and to deal with it. Um, Kudos to you for.
Well, luckily for me, I live outside, right outside Thornton Township.
Okay,
So, one half of Homewood is Thornton Township, the other half is Bloom. So we're
okay,
part of Bloom. But
okay,
the park that I give her butterfly release in is part of Thornton Township. And
okay.
actually, last year, I want to say that we protested whatever event she tried to give the day before Alexis butterfly release, like that. Just we were not happy that she was trying to do something in this park on that day. Um, so we protested. They shut down and went home.
Well, she definitely did not pass in vain, and there are many people. Like I said, the residents keep her alive, keep her
Mhm.
legacy alive, and
I
hopefully.
love that. They've always had my back.
Yes, yes, and I'm, you know, like I said, honored that you sit down with me to help keep her legacy alive, and also to put out there in the public memory details and context.
Hmm.
At
Hmm.
minimum, your daughter deserves that.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Is there any other? Well, what I'll do is I'll ask you if there's any links, any websites, any. I know there is a petition
Hmm.
to rename the ice skating rink. So I actually have that link in all of my videos because
Oh,
Vivian put it up.
nice. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Vivian gave me that link a long months and months ago when I
Yeah,
first
she
interviewed her.
definitely started pushing that. That's so
Yeah,
awesome. And she gave Alexis a great birthday party this year. So hopefully we'll continue that for next year too. We're talking about that too. So just yeah, we're gonna keep pushing her name out there.
100%. Well, Cara, I appreciate you. If there's any links you want me to include in the video, please feel
I'll
free to
text
do.
them to you.
100%, 100%.
Okay.
I appreciate your time, and my condolences and
Thank you.
prayers to the family. Y'all just keep pushing on, and like you said, God have a plan all the
Yeah,
time.
we definitely will. Thank you.
Thank you.